This is the most fun thing that I bought this year, I think. Look at this. If you wonder why I have this one, I just want to have a couple of like arcade furnitures in the studio because I was child in 90s, you know, like we played just arcades all the time. But in today's video, we are going to make a tutorial about Oliver Koletzki and Stil for Talent. It's quite hard because Oliver Koletzki actually made this track. And he also made this one. And actually he also made this one. So the question is which Oliver Koletzki that we are making a tutorial about. But I'm gonna pick this one. So it will be more techno oriented. And if you want to see more techno oriented tutorials similar to this one, I've actually already made Paul Kalkbrenner, Charlie David and Umake tutorials already on the channel. I will add a link below on the comment section and I will pin them so that you can easily find them. But other than that, let's sit down and make some Oliver Koletzki influenced techno tutorial. Let's start with putting a kick, 4 to the floor, bum, and then I'm gonna shorten this up and I'm gonna go for my kicks. Pick something a bit smoother, but still thumpy. I think this is good enough, and I'm gonna do it this way actually. In the beginning of the track, the kick will be a bit like shorter, and then we're gonna get an EQ like this. You can definitely move around. And if I play now, actually let's change them around. This one should be longer version. Wait, this one should be longer version. Let me see, unfold this, put it one, and just a fade out. We have this really nice smooth kick. And the second thing that I will be doing is the bass. And this bass is like a top layer and it's kind of a release type of bass. So what I'm going to do, pick a serum. And this track is actually A minor. So if I just try to play it around, so it sounds something like this. So this is basically notes. So let's put them onto the, we click this one, it will give us like this. And if I edit the MIDI so that it's in the right formation, we will also extend this one to the 4 bars now because this bass was 4 bar basically. And now we are gonna go back to Serum and then we're gonna play around to fix that Reese bass. And on Serum, I'm gonna keep it quite simple. The only thing that I'm considering is if we go something a bit more analog, so that we will be maybe using basic mini. It has this nice, really rounded sawtooth. I'm gonna go back there, get it, and I'm gonna activate the filter. And if you play now, it's kind of this nice sound, but it's not the Reese bass, so we have to fix that. So what I'm going to do, put this one into 5, somewhere around here. And the same thing here, 5 maybe. And put them 1 octave down like this, and 2 of this one. Now we have this really weird groveling bass sound. The only thing that I'm going to do, distortion a little bit, it will smooth out the sound. And if we play it together with the kick, really simple but quite nice sound. Then we will probably activate the sidechain to the kick, so that we have this pumping going a little bit. And then EQ, I will be cutting off this part because we will have another like big bass fixing this part and maybe closing a bit here. So it is a bit darker sound. And once we have done this, I'm going to leave the low end at the moment like this because in the beginning of the track there is that horn sound. I want to focus on this one. There are a couple of things that I really want to talk about it. And then we can take like another serum here. So what I want to achieve when the sound hits, the original synth sound, it's very clean and simple, but then we have this kind of reflected reverb on top of that that creates the really ambience. And we are gonna start by creating 1 bar loop like this, and I'm gonna go for A1 here, and it is basically hit in the beginning like this, and then right before the end another hit. This is really all it does whole track. But of course, it is much more fatter than this part. And we will do the exact same thing like we did before. Go for the basic mini, activate both those sliders like that and put them into the filter. This one will be it like this, so 1 octave below. And then we're gonna turn this one into the really aggressive filter like this, put a little bit resonance on top and a little bit cutoff, and then we're gonna fix the envelopes. We need 2 really plucky envelopes, or stabs are most of the time kind of fast envelopes. So we are gonna do exact same thing. If I play one more time. We barely hear now. So what I'm going to do, I take the second one, put the cutoff exactly the same way we did before. And then I'm gonna volume this down a bit. And increase the fat. This will make the sound a bit more. It's hard to hear, but it just makes the sound a bit more like a vintage style. Let's drive it a bit more. And I'm gonna go for the distortion, add a bit distortion, and then slight remix. And then we're gonna just add a bit compression so that I'm gonna make it a bit slightly stabbier. So bring the threshold. Increase the attack like that. So we are letting that initial pass and then we duck the rest. Yeah, this is more or less enough. The only thing is probably playing a bit with the cutoff, opening up. And adding a bit release here, both envelopes. Put it into mono. That's it. Again, the important part over here is actually the return reverb. And I'm going to create the reverb here and put a reverb on top of that. So I'm going to increase all the way up. The pre-delay means that when sound comes, it delays the reverb. So the initial sound will be much clearer to hear. So if I increase this one now all the way up and solo this, it almost feels like a delay. And if we increase this a little bit more, it becomes really this kind of big ambient sound. And we're gonna play around a little bit so that I want to be making this sound a bit darker and grittier. So if we play again, I'm gonna just repeat it after another. Want a bit more focused. Of course, let's increase the 100%. Now it is really this dark and big sound. And if we play together with the original all together. Let's loop this so that we have continuously playing. And we have to actually make it like a 2 bars. It was like this. Let's take this off, loop one more time, and make it one more time like this. There's only one issue with this sound at the moment. Now the initial hit is so isolated, so it's so dry, and it doesn't make sense. Like we don't feel the reverb is real. So what you need to do is add another. We have actually a whole reverb here. You can maybe open this up a little bit like this, and this one should be big as well. Maybe put it around 3, and then we're gonna send this one more time. But this time we're gonna send this to the big whole reverb that we created. Open this up a bit more. Just like that. And that big reverb creates this ambient. The only thing that I think we are missing now is that making the sound a bit brighter so that the ambience is a bit brighter as well. And then once we have done this, the other thing that we should be maybe focusing is the shakers, because the track opens with like a lot of shakers with a very big ambience. And shakers are really full and rich as well. There's also a couple of things that you can do with the shakers that are probably important for this type of tracks as well. So I'm going to go for the, we can take the off hats as well. And I'm going to bring my pre-made loop over here. And I'm going to just grab a big, really rich shaker. So if I solo the shakers now, this sounds like this. It's really distorted, a lot of noise in it, but we are gonna make it a bit groovier, a bit more fun to listen to. And there's a couple of ways to do it. The way that I like is, or quite straightforward as well, is that duplicating the same shaker and then changing the length of the shaker. And let's say this one, I will go up with down, and the same thing over here. Let's go up and down a little bit. And then we're going to go here and we're going to place them a little bit. So let's say in first one, we will grab like this. You can see definitely what happens. And then maybe we grab this one and then we can take this like this. And then you can definitely be creative with what you want to do here. Like maybe we shouldn't need to have this one right over here, and then maybe like this. Like that, and then maybe like this and like this. That creates really this nice shaker ambience. And the other thing that I like to do, actually this one for example, let's transpose it down. It's really a bit trial error, so you should be transposed down and up and see how it works. And let's transpose this one up a little bit. Yeah, it works quite nice. Let's make it. And I'm going to cut this off. Volume down a bit. And if you play with the track now. This means that we need to put now all of them into the same room so that it sounds a bit better. So the easiest way to do is, like, I have a room reverb here. Let's make this up more brighter. So I want to have the high ends because now we have a shaker which is a high and rich sound. So we're gonna send it there, and then I'm gonna play with the room reverb afterwards. So what we are going to do, this is the B and this is the B now. We're gonna send it there. This is just too big. It just feels like this, like now we are sitting in a big hole. What we are going to do, bring this down. And then I'm going to solo this and try to make it a bit more organic, a bit more like similar to the original shaker sound. Easiest way to do is like you bring the size of the reverb, bring the stereo down. Let's together with the shaker one more time. This part completely depending on your taste, how you feel like, but I like to make it a bit richer, a bit greedier. Because without this, take a look. Everything sounds really much coherent. And one more time in the track. And if you have something like a slap reverb here, like 32, maybe you can even take it to 16. And you can sand there slightly as well to make it even more glued. So if I take this and sand one more time, maybe 32 was better. Make it really high and rich like this. Bring it down. You can barely hear it, but it's there. And one more time to get with track. The other thing is that this track had this really huge white noise ambience all the time. So you can just bring it white noise and do it that way. But what I like to do, just to make everything even more glued, is create another audio channel and put it into resampling mode. And then you're going to solo the shakers. And then you're going to put into recording mode this one. And you're going to bring a reverb on top of this. So this reverb will be a huge one. I'm going to put it like 100% wet. And then open everything up. Take the chorus off, take this off. And decay time really, really long. Doesn't really matter at the moment. And then we're gonna play record button. And then we are gonna freeze it. Make it a loop one time. Yeah. Then we're gonna stop it. I'm gonna just take the reverb off now because it was just for the resampling part. And I'm gonna actually just make it like this so that I have a one full loop. And if I play this now, this really huge sound that's really nice. And I think it's better than just using white noise, because now it has kind of color and its sound kind of sounds like a shakers, and it kind of glues a bit more than usual. And then I'm gonna cut all the lows because I don't want to really mud up the lows. And then we're gonna bring a compressor to sidechain to kick so that we have this pumping noise here as well. And let's go to the compressor, sidechain to the kick, bum. Bring volume down. Really cool, quite simple. Again, you can also use white noise, but I prefer this way. The other thing is that's ghostly percussions in this track, and that is really important as well. So what I'm going to do, go back here and create another audio channel, and now you're looking for kind of a darker Tommy sound. So I'm going to just bring a sample here, and it looks like this, and the placement is somewhere around here, so that right before the first kick hits. So if I play together, it's easier to explain that way. So it's almost like an offbeat feeling, so, and it will just repeat itself. So what I'm going to do, just pick this amount and Control D all the way up and volume down. What we're going to do, of course, EQ a bit to make it a bit darker. And then we're gonna send this one to a big hall reverb. The things that we have, this one was the one that we used earlier, but now I need some kind of a darker hall reverb to create this like ghost ambient. So we are using add of return tracks now, and this track is all about returns and using actual reverbs. And that's the reason we are creating more and more. Unfortunately, it's a bit more complicated in the beginning, but it is kind of needed. And I'm gonna bring this down now. So this will be a kind of really dark reverb. And if I solo this and start standing there, we are on the F now. F is the last one here. So we start blending there. So you can definitely start immediately hear this dark kind of tail. And then let's make it full. Longer. Just like that. And if we play with the track. Really cool. And there's another one that was like a white noise-ish hit, kind of answering this dark reverb, no, dark percussion. So let's put them there here so that you also understand that like a playfulness between these two. And then when the chorus comes, there's even another dark reverb, even answering the previous dark reverb. So playing with the percussions are really important. I'm just gonna go for my sample pack. I think I had some kind of white noise there. Should be under effects. Yeah, this is a reverse version, but we can do reverse it one more time, R, and make it shorter like this. We probably don't need it this long. I'm gonna cut the tail probably. Let's try this from the beginning. Ooh, that's too loud. Actually, we can keep the tail because it's kind of giving nice ambience. And this one also repeats all the time, and we're gonna just edit somewhere around probably here. Or maybe somewhere around here. The track opens up with this one, so actually we can just at the moment turn this off so that we don't have it, but because it's the beginning of the track, you have this one. But if we keep it this way, I think it's good enough. Yeah, and now we have this kind of really nice dark ambience going on. The other thing that we are missing here in this part is probably the clap sound. And I'm gonna bring just a simple clap here. Of course, not clap, the snare sound. So let's put this here. And it had also kind of this kind of rich, nice ambience to it. So we're gonna probably implement the same reverbs that we created. Even though we are out of reverbs now, because we have them, we can just play around and you can actually see which one is working, which one is not. It needs a bit more listening closely, but it's possible. So what we're going to do, play with this one first. The problem here is, of course, it's a bit too clean. I'm going to drive it a bit more, and then overdrive, make it a bit darker here. And then we're gonna use that slap slightly. And then we're gonna use that reverb. So we hear this sound. And then we're gonna send it to be a bit to the hole as well. The one thing that is a bit bothering me is that actually these main leads are a bit too loud. Let's bring this down. Just like this. So the track opens like this, like with these elements, and then you go into the chorus, and in the chorus there is the big, huge bass. Even Boris Brejcha style, I will say. Boris Brejcha has the similar things happening most of the time. There's like a kind of stereo bass, but it's not really 100% stereo, but it gives the image of a big stereo sound. So I'm going to keep this one here. So what we are going to do, just make that low end, because the rest of the track is similar. So we don't need to do anything. So I'm going to copy this here and loop there. So we just need the bass really. And then we're going to turn this into the regular kick, because we had the other one here. Let's bring this down. And then we have this EQ turned on, so we're gonna turn this off here. We can basically just automate it on, off. The problem is the tail is too long. I'm gonna take this off, make it shorter. Probably somewhere around here is nice. So the thing that we're going to do is create one more MIDI and put our serum back. This will be kind of a driving bass, but not as fast. It will be more like a ding, 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 a slower version of the driving bass. So what I'm going to do, just do like this, and then go to A. This will be really deep, so I'm thinking of maybe going for A0. And then I think this should be sufficient if I play now. Yeah, it's like this, dun, 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 all the time. And of course, the thing that we need to do is like activate both oscillators, activate the filter, activate this one, and make the filter aggressive like this, 24 dB. If I play now, kind of dark. And then we are going to put this one octave above. And then we're going to make it like a 3 like this. And then we're going to change the envelopes to a bit more like a plucky. And then the same thing over here, so that we can hear that high end a bit more. Here we go. And a bit drive. Ooh. And then gonna use a bit distortion. Oh yeah. This kind of really stereo sound, but in the end, below the sub part is 1, so it's mono. But the upper layer, the brighter layer, is a bit stereo, and it gives this kind of stereo bass sound while keeping the sub and lower mono. And if I play with the track now, with the other things here, of course, the one thing immediately doesn't make sense is just side tuning to the kick, so that we can hear the kick and hear the separation a bit more. And look ahead. Mixing it slightly. Really big bass, really cool sound. And the one final thing that is important over here, as far as I remember, before we go to the composition, is that this kind of really nice plucky stabs or plucks, whatever you call it. And it's quite simple, and it really depends a bit with the FM that you're using, or the synthesizer that you are using, or the wavetable basically you are using. And what I tend to do is basically, if you grab something like this, and then the sound is like this if I play it, so that you can understand what I'm trying to do. This is all the notes. Let me put them in the MIDI. And you just need to make it a bit pluckier. So I will solo this here, so that we can hear continuously while we are programming the sound. Let's solo this one. And I'm gonna activate this guy, and I'm gonna make it like a bit more kind of square wave-ish. If we move this around here, I think we had something, yeah, exactly. Something in between here, but I'm not gonna use it to like a regular oscillator. What I'm going to do, activate the FM from B, so this one is going into this guy. I'm gonna put this 1 octave above, and the moment that I start increasing this, the sound will get more and more metallic. So take a look. How you can use this one? Once you want to have a plug sound sounding a bit more metallic, a bit brighter, FM could be really helpful because it adds this kind of harmonics into it, and because you're closing the filter very fast, those harmonics create this kind of really nice bright sound. So I'm gonna do like this, create a plug envelope, very fast envelope, and put this one to the here. Maybe faster. Drive it further. Give it a bit fat. Right around somewhere here, it gets really this metallic-ish, kind of. I'm gonna just add a bit slight distortion. And a bit compression. Almost starts like a percussion. Like I mentioned, this is just the sound itself in the original track. The trick is having another delay and sending the sound and doubling it. So it creates this kind of really nice sound. So I'm going to put an echo here, and it will be dotted 1.8 or 1/8. And then we're going to take off the filter, so that will be just doubling the sound. And here, this is our echo. I'm going to automate the send. So for example, here, when I'm hitting first, it will be there all the time. But the second time when I'm hitting the second note, I'm going to duck it a little bit. Let's put it a bit more louder. If I play now. And then we're going to increase again. A bit less. Right there. So it starts to be this really, really nice double sound. So one more time. Kind of almost old school sound, I will say. And then we're gonna make the sound a bit longer tail. And of course it should be 100% wet. It gets a bit irritating after a while because it's a really long tail, so it starts on top of that. But once you are playing in the track, it should be fine. For example, now we don't hear anything. Blah blah blah. Let's put it 0 again and back again. I know it's a bit irritating in the beginning, but once you get it right, it will be fine. And then there was a bit reverb on top. And a bit, let me see, where is our whole reverb? I think this one was that, yeah, the A. And what I'm going to do is put a glue on top of that. This one. Or am I playing the wrong one? No, this one, yeah, this one. Too many things. I should be renaming and using proper names here, but yeah. Don't do like this. So do it the way you should be doing, like reusing the proper names and so on. Let's volume it down. And then like this. And this is more or less all the elements in the track. The thing that is missing is like automating the effects and so on. So I'm going to quickly do it, and then we can go through one more time all different sounds and those small adjustments as well. All right, so what happened, the first thing that I should mention is that in that big part, the chorus part, there was like a answer that I mentioned that I didn't show. So it sounds like this. Let me just play it there. It's the same sound, but what I did, I just transposed it like a 3 half notes up, so that it's like ding ding. Just like that. So this continues all the time in the track all the way. And then of course there was like a 16 hats in the chorus part. So I layered 2 hats. These from my, again, preset pack. Sounds like this, the first one. Almost kind of like this open hi-hat sound. And the second one is like this. Let me solo this as well. More like a bit like a organic sounding. And then you can see that I'm cutting the highs here, and here I'm boosting the highs. So they are like occupying slightly different part. And if I play them together, and there's side change to the kick, so that we had this nice groove going on. And then I add a slide pad. So this one is extremely simple. Just a serum. If I can open it. Yeah, here we go. Just a simple serum and a bit unison on top of that in the regular sawtooth, and closing the cutoff is almost barely here, actually, to be honest, like this. Yeah, and then let me see if I have anything else. There I have these vocals from the track, and of course we have our plugs that I mentioned, extremely simple, and the initial stabs. The one thing that is probably interesting here is that, again, all the white noises, everything is created by like putting it into the reverbs and doing it that way. So if I activate my returns here, you will see that this one is automized. So this goes up and up and up. It creates this kind of really white noise fill up ambience. So it almost feels like I just used white noise, but I didn't. I just used the Synths instead. And let me see if we have anything else. And then yes, we have this kind of just white noise double hit here. I just pick a white noise burst, and then yeah, just filtered a little bit. Nothing really that serious. So let's do it this way. I'm gonna start to end, and then I'm gonna try to show you around so that you can see the automations if there is any in the any track, and you can also take a listen whole track. So let's go.
They start to change.
And yeah, just like that. Like I mentioned earlier, if you like the tutorial, I have the like similar versions from the Paul Kalkbrenner, Umek, and Charlotte David. I will add the links below. Other than that, if you liked the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. And I will catch you in the next one. Goodbye.